Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are celebrating another great that we recently lost, I think like a week and a half ago now. The great, amazing artist and writer, George Perez, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of art of George Perez art to go from. I mean, we've already done a couple of his books. We did Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think he did all of that one. And then he definitely did work on Infinity Gauntlet.
That's right.
He did half of those. I think Ron Lim did half, and he did the first three, I think. So perfect book for him. Those are both perfect books because he is a master of drawing thousands of superheroes in one room, and everybody is distinct and detailed, and you can see everybody. You know, you can see Superman's spit curl on his chin, and he looks like a perfect model, but he's a tiny, speck in the. He's a Where's Waldo in this scene of hundreds of superheroes and stuff. So George Perez was known for his immaculate detail and also being on time, which is hard to do, especially back then.
Yeah, especially if you've drawn that many characters.
Yeah, and everything's by hand, and there's no like erase with a fucking digital pen or whatever. It's all real. It's all the real art and pencils. So, and this week we chose something that we hadn't really dug into before. We chose his Wonder Woman run, or the first trade of his Wonder Woman run, because neither of us had really read any Wonder Woman.
Nope.
And as much of a big DC fan as I am, that's a character that I just never heard anybody say, like, this is the thing you need to read for it, Like, if you say, like, oh, Superman, what should I read? People go, like, oh, you got to read this and that and this and that. I'm like, okay, cool. But then with Wonder Woman, at least when I started reading in, like, the mid-2000s, I would read her in Justice League stuff or, on teen books.
Oh, sure.
But never, I never read anything or heard anybody talk about, like, how amazing this Wonder Woman run is or anything. So
Yeah, the same. I don't think I've ever read her in anything but a team up, or Justice League. So
right, yeah, and so that's why I was like, hey, let's read, George Perez's. This is like a very famous run that he did in the '80s, and it was a reboot of all the Wonder Woman stuff from before. So Wonder Woman is one of the Trinity of DC. So you got Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and she was a character that from the 30s, I believe, so early 30s, 32 maybe or something like that. She was brought in or written and created, and then up until the 70s, or I guess the late 70s, she was on her own title. And I guess there was some missteps, we'll say. They took away her powers in the 70s and made her know kung fu and shit because that was popular. Stuff like that. They gave her a name Diana Prince, which is funny because they mentioned that in this. And so the DC was like, you know what? Let's reboot with a new number one on Wonder Woman, and let's give it to George Perez on art. And there's a couple different writers in this, but the cool thing was George Perez actually plotted most of these stories, and then someone would write the dialogue. So there was
Len Wein on this one.
Len Wein wrote a lot of the dialogue in this. I think Greg Potts, I think is his name, did the first issue's dialogue. So, but the other thing, I didn't notice any switch. Like it all feels like it was the same person. Yeah. So we read. It's called George Perez's Wonder Woman Volume 1, but we did the first 7 issues because that's the first story arc. That collection collects 1 through 14 though, so you get the full first 14 issues. And this one, you might recognize some of the stuff because they're definitely taking from this for the movie. That came the first movie.
Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, this isn't set place in World War I times, but it definitely has the same feel and a lot of the same themes as that. So, and I felt like Wonder Woman, the way they portrayed her in that movie, was very true to this Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
specifically.
very much so.
Yeah. So, we'll just start off. We get a brand new origin. Like I said, this is them rebooting the franchise. So,
yeah, this is not your invisible plane flying Wonder Woman anymore.
Yeah, no. So we start off in 30,000 BC with man, just coming out of the primordial ooze per se or whatever, and a little bit after that, but yeah, he's evolved into a human shape now, or they've evolved because you have men and women, and they kind of set it up like there is a constant struggle between men who kind of represent aggression and scared. I don't know. They're scared of their, not.
They want to be it's kind of they're going to be the strongest and they think of themselves as the higher up on the food chain, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
You have them fighting kind of against each other, and then then the saber-tooth comes along.
Well, it touches on the themes of man needs a purpose. Men need a purpose.
Yes.
And if they don't have that purpose, they get very annoyed and self-conscious, and their ego is crushed because specifically the man in this, he's a hunter. That's what he's supposed to do. That's all he can do. And he loses a hand to a saber-tooth, and he comes home and he's feeling less than a man. And the woman tries to comfort him, but he is just filled with rage. And also, I'm sure this is, we're talking about Greek gods in this later on, but this is the influence, I would say, of the war or the kind of that god, the Ares god.
Yeah.
Even though they don't show him in this, he's so irrational when the woman comes up to hey, are you okay? He's like, don't touch me, bitch, basically, and freaks the fuck out. And he ends up murdering her with a fucking stick or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because she's saying hey, are you okay? And
are you okay? Do you need me to comfort you?
Yeah. And he's just she knows. And when she touches you, when you hear her sympathetic whimpering, you curse her, because his ego is bruised or whatever by the fact that he feels less than a man, I guess. And so, yeah, that's the first story. This is the Adam and Eve story or something of this mythology. And one interesting that happens is when he kills her, her soul flies up into somewhere. We don't know where, but it flies away. And he's like, what the fuck? And then he feels bad that he killed her. He's like, oh, man, killed my wife. So then we cut to 1200 BC, and we're on Mount Olympus. So the Greek gods are established. That is the mythology for Wonder Woman, is the Greek gods. And we have all of them talking and kind of debating about humans, because they're Ares is hey, I think humans should just be let alone. I like them the way they are. I like them warring with each other and fighting and stuff. It's pretty awesome. I get power from them. And this is kind of I don't know who originated this concept, because I think it's a cool concept. The first time I read it was in Neil Gaiman's American Gods book. But the idea that gods specifically get their power from worship. It's not that they exist besides the fact of worshipers. It's if they don't have worshipers, they don't exist. So that concept was very, very heavy in the I guess it's a show now, but also the book American Gods with Neil Gaiman. So in his you have a god that used to be amazing and powerful, and now they drive a taxi because they have 4 worshipers or whatever. So they have to make a living now or whatever. Whereas before they used to just get sacrifices and all that shit to them, and they were so powerful. Same concept here. You have the gods, kind of arguing about what man is, what their purpose is, and what we should do with them. Should we let them roam free, or should we control them or do something? And basically Ares is, of course, I want them to roam free because they are easy to manipulate and easy to war in anger.
Yeah.
And so I believe that, okay, so also guys, if we get something wrong with the names of these gods, give us a break, because we're not Greek and there's a lot of gods in this. So
I forgot how many Greek gods there were.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. So most of them I knew from the Hercules Disney movie.
Yeah,
but some of them I was I don't know. So I believe it is Artemis says, hey, I don't think we should leave them up to their own devices. And what we should do, just as a precaution, if you guys aren't gonna fight for this, because Zeus, he doesn't have time for this. He's always trying to bang bitches on Earth or whatever. He doesn't care. So
that's true.
So, and Hera just kind of defers to him. And so Artemis is like, wait. What if? Okay, I know I get you guys aren't on my side on this, but like, what if we don't intervene per se, but we just create some beings that, if we need them to intervene, could intervene at some time. And what she's talking about is the Amazons themselves. So she, like, they basically, like Zeus says, I don't care either way.
Just leave me out of it.
Yeah, leave me out. You do it or don't. I don't care. Like, you're not going to make me mad if you do it, but
I'll take a nap before my 4:30 appointment on down there.
Yeah. I got a massage down in Sparta or whatever. I don't know. Athens. I don't know. So anyway, so Artemis takes a bunch of the women. I don't know who the women are. Some of them are, and I'm sure there are other gods. They don't say their names. Like Aphrodite is one of them, and
Hestia.
Yeah, Hestia. I don't. There's a bunch of them. So, they are with her, and they're the. We'll call them if you Shazam the movie, like there's like the gods of, and it's all their names. So it's like the strength of Hercules and this wisdom of Solomon and all that stuff. So these are like where she gets her powers from. Each one of these people, and but that's later. Right now, they're just trying to make the Amazons in general. So they go across the river Styx, and they go to this like nether realm, to a place that's called the Cavern of Souls. And this is where souls just wait. I don't know exactly why they wait. I can't remember if they say specifically like why they're waiting. It's like they're waiting to be used sometimes. Like not all souls go here, but some do. And so I don't know if these are just women too either. They don't say whether they're mixes.
No, they are specifically talking about the souls of women here, but they don't say if what they're looking at is a mixture.
Yeah, and so but basically they're just like, okay, this is where we're gonna take our women from. We're gonna use these souls, bring them back down to earth, and bring them back to life as kind of goddesses on earth or whatever. They're not just human, they're more than human. They're like kind of like Hercules or whatever. He's a demigod or something. And so they throw the souls back down from the Cavern of Souls. I guess they throw them back up. I don't know.
I know
they're in Styx.
It's supposed to be River Styx, so it'll be under, but then it shows.
But then it appears
like
from the sky, and maybe it's like a wormhole or something. But all these souls fall into a lake. And then out of the lake, all these naked women come out, and I'm like, that is the place to be. Of course, it's DC, so everything's covered with splashes of water and stuff.
But just perfectly.
Just perfectly. I've seen everything, though. They try to cover it up. But yeah, so then that is how the Amazons are born, and they give, some of the people, like they nominate who's going to be the leader and stuff, and they're like, you, Hippolyte, are the head of the Amazons, and you have a sister who I don't remember her name. Antiope. Yeah, Antiope. There you go.
Antiope. Sorry, Greek. The way you got to do the Greek pronunciation.
Yes. So Antiope is her sister, who's like second in command, and then the other ones. This is not really important. And then
some cannon fodder probably later.
Yeah, and like the whole time Ares is looking at this, he's like, "Those fucking bitches! Like, I can't believe they did that." Well, don't worry, they'll never be able to resist my power. I'm awesome. So then. And this was possibly the most fucked up thing in this book.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We cut to a couple years later or whatever, and Hercules, the son of Zeus, is banging some hot lady. And she's talking to him after they have coitus. And post-coitus.
I love that she's in bed, and then he's right away like, I got to get my clothes on. I got to get out of the babe.
I got to get out of here.
See you later.
Yeah, I'll call you. Don't worry about it. But yeah, she's like, why don't you stay in bed? He's like, I got to go do stuff. All right, I got stuff to do, and he's definitely a dick in this. And me and John were talking about this because Hercules, because he's like a god character from history, he is what's that called? Not copywritten. He's free use.
Yeah.
So Marvel also has a Hercules, and he is very different. He is very much a big oaf that's lovable.
He's kind of like Hercules. If you haven't read him, the easiest thing I would say is he's like Fat Thor.
There you go.
In the Marvel movie,
Yeah.
the more recent Marvel movie, it's like he's just kind of like the bro version of Thor. He's like, "Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
Like, he got my."
That
little,
is very much how
yeah.
he is used as well. Like if Thor and him are in a comic, he is definitely the bro version of Thor.
Yes.
And so like it makes sense in the Marvel version, but in this, I was like, oh wait.
Yeah, it took me for a curve right away.
This is not the Hercules that I'm thinking of. So he's talking to her. I mean, like literally, she's like, "Oh, did you hear how like Hippolytes saying that Hercules is like a loser, basically, and like he got a small dick." But like she doesn't say that exactly, but like that's what she's saying. Like she's making fun of him. This lady is saying that Hippolytes is making fun of him, and he's just like, "What? What'd she say about me? Like, be silent." And he actually like starts shaking the girl that's there. And she doesn't get mad or anything, but he throws her away. Like, he's like, "I'm going to go take on that bitch." And so, like, he throws her down and runs away. And then we see the woman laughing, and she burns up. Like, her whole body burns up. And so we're like, "Huh, all right. That's interesting." So, obviously, later on, we see this a lot in the bad guys in this. So, they are working for Ares. They're, like, possessed by demons who are controlled by Ares.
Yeah.
So... she's basically like, or Ares is manipulating Hercules into fighting with the Amazons, and so he thinks, "Oh yeah, this will take him on." I mean, it's a demigod, it's the son of Zeus. We'll see what happens. So Hercules goes to war with them, and as he's riding to their gates, Hippolyte goes to meet him, and she's all armored up and shit. And so he's like, "Oh, like I heard you were talking shit about me. Like you think you can just talk shit about Hercules, huh? Like I'm gonna show you." What a man can do to a woman, And so he takes her on, and she's holding her own at first. Like, she's kicking his ass, which is pretty funny.
Well, she's like, I mean, you may be like physically stronger, but she says, "I'm also like way smarter than you."
And way faster. Like, so she's basically using his leverage against him,
Yeah.
kind of like Steven Seagal would,
Yeah, just come at me.
Yeah. And so he is bested by her in the fight. Like she is able to get him on the ground, puts like a sword at his neck and says, "Choose to death, or are you gonna like calm down or whatever." So he's like, "Ha ha ha, I was just testing you. This is great. I love it. I love fighting. I'm Hercules." And she believes him. He fools her and all the Amazons. So they all end up partying inside the gates of Themyscira, or the
this isn't
palace.
This isn't
This isn't Themyscira. Yeah, this is just wherever they're at in Greece, I guess. And so they're in a palace and they're partying, and Hercules gives her a drink, and she drinks it, and he fucking roofies her, basically.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, literally, this is a step-for-step date rape scene, because he literally just starts beating her, and then all of his men take prisoner the Amazons and bind them in chains. And they do rape them.
And they're all naked. I mean, it's not explicitly shown, but I mean, it's very much implied.
They don't say the word rape, but they imply that that is what happens. So, and like more than once, like one of the other Amazons later is like, "Why the fuck do we care about men? We know what they've done.
Yeah.
What they did to us and all this stuff." So like, we get what happens.
It's showing the very evil, the way that they can quickly turn to evil and be manipulated.
Yes. But after a while, they're praying, and I don't know how many years or days or whatever that it seems like these things took a long time. Like they were under they were prisoner for a long while, because she's praying to one of the gods. I don't know which one. Hera. And Hera actually comes down.
Or maybe this is Athena. I'm sorry.
Oh, Athena. One of them. Whatever. One of the gods. And she's praying to her, and they're like, "Okay, yes, we will. We'll give you the strength." So Hippolyte, I like how this is of course what would happen. A guard is like, "Hey, what's going on in there?" Because he sees a light flash. And then as he walks in, he sees she's naked, and she's like, "Hey, I'm naked." He's like, "Huh?" And then she like whips the chain from she pulls the chain out of the wall and whips him in the face with it. And they're able to break free, and then they take back the castle, and it's pretty fucking awesome.
They like murder these
these guys. So I thought that was very cool for like such a fucked up scene. Like at least they got like their revenge, and they do make it a thing. Like, hey, like Hippolyte's like, we're supposed to be better than them. Like that's why we were sent here in the first place, to be able to calm the world of men down. once they go out of control and get possessed by Ares or whatever. So, but none of the other Amazons are down with that. They're like, fuck these guys. So, so they end up killing everybody, and except Hercules. I don't think he dies, but like all the men in the that are in his army get like murdered, and they take it back, and so they all have to deal with that. But because of that, they all pray to the gods again, and the lady gods who put them on Earth is like, hey, we'll get you out of here since they fucked with you and it's terrible, and we're going to. They basically pull a Moses and they open the Red Sea, but it's the Mediterranean or whatever.
They talk with Poseidon. Poseidon's like, I got you.
Yeah, and Poseidon opens up a pathway on the ocean floor, and they walk all the way to the island that becomes Themyscira. And the island is hidden by like a fog or whatever of, God
magic.
Yeah, God magic. So it takes them a very long time, it says. I don't know how long, but apparently long enough that they've built and built and built, and now it's like our day. So it takes a while. It's not quite our day, but yeah, like it goes through time. And then we didn't mention that when the goddesses were like, hey, we're gonna bring these souls down to make the Amazon, there was one that they left. And they're like, no, it's not your time yet. And so that one has been sitting here this whole time waiting in that like cave of souls. And so I don't know if, I guess she gets a premonition from the oracle, and the oracle tells Hippolyte to go to convene with the gods and talk, because there's something that she's supposed to do. So what she does, she goes to the beach, and Hippolyte makes like an effigy of a baby. She gets like or I guess it's clay. I don't know. It says clay in there, but
it looks like clay or mud or sand. I don't know.
So she makes a baby out of this clay, and then as she's praying to the gods, they send that last soul down, because it turned out that when Hippolyte was alive before she was killed and became a soul, she was pregnant, and so this is the actual like soul of the baby that was in her. So that is what ends up going. The soul gets put into the baby, or the mud that is in the shape of a baby, and that is how Wonder Woman is born.
And this is the part where all of the gods that are up there, they're all like, this is how you know what the new Wonder Woman's powers are.
What her new power set is. So specifically, they even say their names. So we'll say the names of the gods, because this is the only time we're going to say this right. So the first god says, I, Demeter, grant her power and strength like that of the earth itself.
And I, Aphrodite, give her great beauty and loving heart.
I, Athena, grant her wisdom.
I, Artemis, shall give her the eye of the hunter and the unity with the beasts. So I guess she can talk to animals.
Yeah, I think she can talk to animals. Although she does when she's a kid in this, like she's talking to a weasel or something on Themyscira. But later on, it doesn't really come into play, I don't think. So
at least for now,
yeah. And then the next god says, I, Hestia, grant her sisterhood with fire, that it may open the hearts of men to her.
And I, Hermes, give her speed and the power of flight, so Wonder Woman can fly now on her own.
She doesn't need a jet. She's got her own goddamn flight powers. So then Hippolyte raises the baby to the gods and names her Diana, which is like warrior woman, I guess is what it means in their language. And then we just see her kind of grow up. We get like a fast track of her growing up. And it seems like her mom is super protective. And even though she's like more capable seemingly than all the other Amazons, kind of like in the movie. In the movie, they show her. She's a little bit younger in the movie. Like she's maybe like 10 in the movie, and in this she's like 19, I feel, or a little bit older. So the years pass, and she's now grown up, or at least grown up enough to look adult. And the Amazons are now trying to think, hey, we don't want to be unprepared. We want to do what the gods told us to do, which is get prepared to, dissuade men from war if we need to, but we don't want to go and leave our perfect island. So what we are going to do is we're going to hold like a champion tournament, and whoever wins will be our champion that we will send to men's world. And I like one thing they did in this is, because everybody knows each other, this is on an island with everybody that, they're all like sisters and shit. They love each other. They're like, hey, everybody who's competing, you're going to like wear masks so no one can see you. That way you're not like, oh, I don't want to fight her. She's like my friend or whatever. So like, they do that. Everybody's wearing armor with like their faces blocked off. So this allows Diana to be able to compete against her mother's wishes. And so she does, and she fucking owns all the other Amazons.
Oh yeah.
And then when they say like, take off your helmet, and after they give her like the bracelets that she wears as Wonder Woman, they're like, this is your it's like a final test that she has to do with them, but this is like what you win. Like if you're really our champion, you'll put these on, you have one more test, and that's it. And then so they pull off her hat or her helmet to be like, oh, who is it? And it's Diana, and of course Hippolyte's all like, what the fuck? I told you not to do that. And I thought this was funny. Just this panel that we see. So Hippolyte's like, well, I guess I have to go with it because everybody's like demanding, like, hey, she won fair and square. Like she earned it. So Hippolyte's like, okay, I guess we'll do this, even though I don't want you to do this. And so the last thing that Diana has to do as part of this champions test is she has to get shot at with a gun. Somehow they have a gun. I don't know how they have a gun.
I do, yeah. Like of all this old, old, very Greek feeling and looking.
Yeah.
The Oracle pulls out like a
45
yeah.
Colt.
It's like, dodge this,
Yeah,
Diana.
she pulls out a 1911 and it's just like,
I never
dodge
miss.
this. Yeah, just straight up Matrix lines it. And yeah, so Diana, takes the bracelets and is able to bounce off all the bullets. And they're like, oh, I guess she's good. And it's an old gun because there's only 6 shots in it or whatever. It's an old automatic pistol. But
that's all the bullets they had
yeah,
through this one test.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's true. Like, where did they get the ammunition from or anything? Who knows? But that was the test. And so then they give her like her uniform and everything. They're like, you will wear the colors that are cool that we like, but it just happens to be the American flag. Stars and stripes, basically. The red, blue, white, and there's gold in it too. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, then she puts on her, uniform, and now she will be the champion if men ever need that in the world. And so that is the end of the first issue. We start the second issue, which you might have noticed something's different or was missing from that origin story, and that would be the airman Stephen Trevor, who in the old version like crash lands and she helps him or whatever, but in this we get like a full breakdown of like why he is there and what's going on, and a little bit more detail that kind of ties into the overall like feel and story of this book. So we start off with Stephen Trevor, who has been like on desk duty for the last 3 years. He was a pilot in Vietnam, but he refused to take some certain orders because he's not a pacifist, but he's not like a murderer. He doesn't want to be a murderer. He saw too many men with bloodlust, and doing crazy shit in Vietnam. So he got sick of that. So they put him, because he wouldn't follow orders, they put him on a desk. But for some reason tonight, he got called in at like midnight to fly a plane. And they're like, he's like, I don't know why. Like just randomly got called by the general. And so this general talks to him. He's like, I don't like you, but there's a mission.
God damn it. You're the best we got.
He doesn't say that.
But no, but that's what it made it seem like.
Yeah, well, kind of. I mean, you could tell like he really does not like him. He's like, I don't like you, and I wouldn't have chosen you for this mission, but they chose you, whoever they are. Yeah. And so you have to fly this mission. It's like a demo of the new Phantom plane, and Steve Trevor's like, that plane is like 6 years old. It's not new. Like. And then, like, where are these coordinates? And he looks and he's like, this is in the middle of nowhere. This isn't even, like, near anywhere anybody could be watching me, So he's like, I don't know what. They just told me you do it, So don't question things, God damn it. And so.
Good soldiers follow orders.
Yes, exactly. And so then Steve meets his co-pilot for this Phantom plane, who's a guy named Slade, Captain Slade. And he's a dick to him right away. He's kind of like, you're one of those soldiers that thinks for himself, huh? Well, not me. I'm a good soldier. I do what I'm told. I follow orders, all kinds of orders, whatever you give me. So, so it's just kind of ominous, when they talk to each other. But they get in the plane, they take off, and the general's looking, and he's like, tonight you shall do the bidding of Ares, god of war. So it seems like obviously Ares is controlling these military men, and like the sky around Themyscira, we cut to that, and it's like all lightning and thunder and everything. And like we said, Wonder Woman is all, or I guess Diana at this moment, is all, on a horse, but she's all decked out in her armor and stuff. And she's just kind of watching this storm happen. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And at the same time, there's also like a ritual going on where she's supposed to get some kind of special weapon from the gods that is made from her mom's belt, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Her mom's belt got stolen by Hercules. They get it back, and they give it to a god to make into a new weapon. And so this belt, I guess, was like it had some properties like it can compel gods and man. Like gods can't break it, men can't break it. And so this blacksmith god, I guess, is in I was going to say Atlantis, in Olympus, and is making it with like this rope with a hammer. So this is her lasso of truth. She's getting it made from her mom's belt, and she's given this by Hermes, I believe, and it's her lasso of truth. So basically it compels people to tell the truth, but also it can reveal the truth, and there is a bit of like life force in it. We find out later as well. Yeah. But there's definitely new properties to this lasso of truth, which previously in the old comic used to just be used to tie Wonder Woman up in bondage positions.
What are you saying that Wonder Woman had a little bit of BDSM in the creation there?
A little kink in it? No, not at all. But for some reason, she was always hogtied. So while that's going on and she's getting her new weapon, we see Trevor is able to pilot his way through this storm. And that was I guess he had Ares with him on the plane in the form of Slade. And he was kind of making it able to get through these clouds that are like god magic or whatever.
Yeah, because I guess to pass through this cloudy barrier, you have to have some sort of
you have to be a god or something. And then also, he's a good pilot. Steve Trevor. Goddamn, I want to say Trevor Steve. But Steve Trevor. So he's a good pilot. So that's why they picked him for this mission. And also he's expendable because no one likes him. And so that's why he gets through. And then all of a sudden, his co-pilot turns on him and is like, "Hey, guess what? This is not the mission you think it is. We're gonna bomb this place." And then we cut to Wonder Woman, who is being shown the way to an artifact that is going to help her defeat Ares later on. Because now we're in man's world time, our modern times, or at least the 80s, right? So omens are happening, and that's why they got her the weapon, the new lasso of truth, and they're like, "You're gonna need this because we're gonna fight Ares. The time is nearing, right?" And so one of the other things they say is you need to get this talisman from this woman named Sister Harmonia, who is actually the daughter of Aphrodite and Ares. I'm assuming that was not consensual, but Aphrodite, she's not she's one of the people who gave the Amazons their power. So it seems like back then, at least in the lore of those Greek gods, they were raping and fucking everybody,
and they were all doing each other.
Yeah, there was a lot of that going around. Yeah. They'd be like, "Oh, we fall in love for 10 minutes, and then we have a baby," kind of thing. So, but
a lot of falling in and out of love really quickly,
real quick. They're like Uber versions of us, right? Just one 10-second Tom or whatever.
Yeah. Was that Rick and Morty episode where they have the love app? It's like you match with someone new every.
Yes, it was exactly.
I don't love you anymore. I love this person.
Yes,
this is my soulmate.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
but because this woman is part Ares and part Aphrodite, she's a ugly old hag looking, and she has been kind of cast out. And possibly on her own. I don't know. I think maybe she puts herself in there too, but she was not treated well by the other gods, so she does not like the other gods. And Hermes is like, "I'm going to show you the door, and you can walk that." Yeah, she's not going to like me. So Wonder Woman, being unknown to Harmonia
and having such a good heart,
she goes up to her and says, "Hey, do you have something that can help me defeat Ares? I was told you do." And she's like, "Oh yes, I do. Here's this talisman. I'm going to give this to you, but there's two parts to it, but this is one of the parts. If you take this, then it will." I can't tell you exactly what it does because I don't really know, but I know it is what's going to eventually help you in some way against Ares. And then we cut back to Steve Trevor, who is flying out of control as his co-pilot Slade is turning more and more into a skeleton. His body's being eaten away, and a demon has taken over his corpse. And
it's very cool looking. I love the art on this.
Yes, and he reaches out as Wonder Woman kind of flies to the plane, and he sees her, and he's like, Slade sees her, and he's like, "What the heck? She can fly!" That's new to them, like Ares did not know anything about Wonder Woman, basically, because that's their secret weapon. And so But Slade is able to reach out and push the button for the bomb to drop. And I don't know what bomb this is, but they make it seem like it's a very, very, very powerful bomb. I don't think it's an atomic bomb, but
yeah,
something, because they say like the skylight's on fire, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?" As Diana grabs it with her lasso of truth and wings it around and is able to throw it away from Themyscira, but it hits the clouds and it bursts in the air and like lights everything on fire, lights up the whole sky, and everybody in Themyscira is very amazed at that. And she ends up saving Trevor from the ocean because his plane falls in, and she's like, "Who is this guy who tried to attack us?" You know, she thinks that he attacked him, even though he was like not. He was just on the mission. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know the slave was gonna bomb them and stuff. So she's like, "I'll take him and we'll question him. Like he's passed out right now, but you know we'll wake him up and figure out what the fuck happened, right?" And in the meantime, we cut back to the base where the general who sent him on that mission has also burned up, like in a pile of bones, which I thought was fantastic. Like you were saying, the art with these desiccating people and stuff looks really cool. Like, I mean, every panel in this looks great because George Perez is a master. But, you know.
Every time where it's something to do with Ares, though, I have to say, like, I compared it to, like, the Kirby Crackle. And, I know that obviously they're doing comics at the same time. You know, Kirby's been doing it for, a decade or two.
Yeah,
longer.
yeah.
But still, like, it's still reminiscent of that. And it's just one of those things, like, it looks freaking.
It's reminiscent, but it's also distinct. Like, it's like, oh, that's the Perez Crackle. You know, like that's different. So and we see, like, basically what's going on is the humans are like, the general's dead. Like, Trevor's missing with one of our planes, and there's no record of why he took the plane. So they think Trevor possibly killed that general with a flamethrower or something. I don't fucking know.
Trevor went AWOL.
Yeah, Trevor went AWOL, stole a plane, and killed a general. And so they're kind of like, what the fuck? And then we cut back to the Themyscirians who are like, why are we keeping this attacker, this man, on our island? We want to kill him, basically, because
this is the part. This is where we really get to see what Matt was talking about earlier. Is that you really see the difference between, like, you have Hippolyte and a couple of the higher ups that are like still kind of neutral-esque as far as they're not really like they're not gonna necessarily do one or the other as far as like hurting people or not. And then you have some
like Philippus specifically, I think she was the one who pulled out the gun and shot her in the trials. But yeah, she is like, fuck this guy.
No, I remember what they did to us. Yeah. Like, fuck men. Like, this is ridiculous. Why are we having him?
Yes.
And then like Wonder Woman, who in between all of this is like, we don't even know who this is yet. We don't even know. And amazing, even though she's the one that pulled him out, she's like, we don't know that he's the one that did this.
Right.
So like you can tell, like,
and like we got to question him to know what's going on. Exactly. Yeah. So because of that, the gods intervene again. They kind of pray to them and they say, hey, why don't you take Steve Trevor and put him back to his place wherever he is from, and you go talk to the humans and figure out what's going on, because something's going on with Ares, and this is your time to go out to the men's world. So Hermes comes, and because she's not a god, she has to have a god's like power or whatever to get through the clouds, just like Steve Trevor had with Ares. And so she follows Hermes to Boston, of all places. Boston. And yeah, that's like,
this is fucking flying whitey over here.
Yeah, he's fucking dude with wings on his feet. What the fuck's going on?
What's up there?
We apologize to all our Boston fans.
Yes, I apologize.
Who are cringing at our terrible accents. But
we're no Bill Burr.
Those are some wicked feet right there. Some wicked feet. Anyway, then like as she gets to Boston, like or is about to, we cut to two entities that are they're very much the main bad guys in this, actually. It's not so much Ares. He's kind of in the background. He already had a plan going. But these two people, it's Phobos and Deimos. I'm going to say Deimos.
It's Deimos, I think so, yeah. They are the sons of Ares.
Yeah, the sons of Ares, and they're kind of the ones who actually, like, get their hands dirty. And I actually liked them a bit because they're like, we're going to help our dad. Yeah. Let's fuck shit up now. And it's like, what? He's got a plan.
He's got a plan.
You know, so that's the end of that issue. So we kind of had the introduction to her, the introduction to Steve Trevor, and now we're in Man's world. And she is just kind of like figuring out what's going on. She drops Steve Trevor off at a hospital. I don't know how she knew to do that because she later on is like, what is this world? But she knew like, I'm gonna drop him off on the hospital bed or whatever, because it's a hospital on base. So she goes back to where, I guess they say, like, she follows his like aura or whatever back to where he came from. So I guess maybe he was in that area and she just saw the medical sign and knew what that was or something.
She saw other hurt people going in.
Because in this also, she only speaks Greek at first, and she doesn't know English at all. So there's no way to communicate or read anything at this moment. So like we said, the people who are in the military are like, wait, this guy Steve Trevor just appeared and he's in the hospital now, and what's going on? So they think he's a murderer, and they have him under lock and key in the hospital until he wakes up. And then Hermes says, like, oh yes, that little medallion that she got from Harmonia, that's supposed to help her with Ares some way. He's like, yes, you need to figure out what this means. We don't exactly know. It's got something. It's gonna help you out later. Like, it's kind of like the I'm gonna say it's the Deus Ex Machina of this a little bit, because they never tell the reader exactly what it does, but then whenever they need to get to the place that they need to go, they're like, hey, this medallion, let's try this thing, and then it works. So that happens twice.
This is a MacGuffin.
It's a MacGuffin. I'll say that. But it was fun. I mean,
no,
I got it. So he's like, yeah, here's the medallion. Go find someone who can help you out. So she does. I don't know exactly how she finds her, but she finds this woman who is very, very knowledgeable. She's like a professor at a local college. Maybe that's why. Maybe they have libraries in Greece, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe she knew, I'm going to go to a library, and the closest one was at Harvard, and where there was a woman named Professor Julia Capitelius. So she's Greek, and she studies Greek history and all that stuff. She's very knowledgeable and all that. And she even speaks a little Greek. And it's all Greek to her. They actually make that joke in this one time. So, like, there was someone else who's like, it's all Greek to me. And it's like, wink. But yeah, so somehow, like, the lady is, like, on one of those ladders in the library that's, like, on the top shelf of the 15-shelf bookcase. And she falls off, and Wonder Woman's there, luckily, to save her. Also, I got to say this. George Perez, he's done these panels before of, like, super zoom in of someone's eye, and they look fucking amazing.
It looks so glossy, and
it looks
like an eye.
Amazing. Like, he zooms in on Wonder Woman's eye, and it just, he's so good. It's amazing. George Perez is a master, true master of the art. And so, anyway, the professor gets saved by Wonder Woman, or Diana. I call her Wonder Woman. She's not named Wonder Woman yet. She's just Diana of Themyscira. So I'll try to call her Diana, but sometimes it just comes out as Wonder Woman. But
she does have a big WW on her.
Yeah, she's wearing the Wonder Woman
without
garb.
being Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Because that's just the symbol of her house or what. I don't know. And so the funny thing is, so the woman or the professor's looking at Diana like, oh, who are you? Like, are you here? And I think this was around the bicentennial maybe or something. I don't think it was that early. Like, that's 76, right? There's no way this is 76.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But, like, they're making it seem like maybe this year is 76 or something, or maybe it's 84 or something. I don't fucking know. But they're making it sound like, oh, there's festivities, so maybe it's like 4th of July times or something, because she's wearing stars and stripes and red, white, and blue and shit. So they think she's part of, like, the parade that's going to happen. But no, she is not. And she tries to talk to her, and the professor is like, oh, she's speaking some kind of, like, weird ancient Greek. Like, I can pick out a word here or there, but I don't quite know it. And then Wonder Woman shows her the medallion, like the talisman that she got from Harmonia. And she's like, check this out. It disappears one way. Like, she turns it, like, vertical, and it disappears. And then she turns it horizontal, and it reappears. So the professor's like, what is that? And she reaches out and touches it. And it, like, zaps her, and then now, all of a sudden, she gets the whole history of everything that happened. Wonder Woman doesn't have to tell or explain anything, and she can talk to her. So, like, hey, let's just fix that real quick so you can move on with the story, which I enjoyed. We get some nice art of, like, everything we've seen.
This splash page is wonderful because, it's like all of that, but it's warped in such a cool way.
Yeah, the perspective is all crazy, like, like if everything was all, cattywampus, on a beach ball or something, but a bunch of different beach balls, and then you put pictures on that same like angle and everything, and the sphere, there's a lot of that. So it's very cool looking. And so, like I said, the professor gets this jolt of knowledge about what's been going on and why Diana's there, and also she could talk to her now. And then we cut to someone who is looking over a well that can like see what's going on Earth with her, and it is what's his name again?
Deimos.
Oh yeah, that's right, Deimos. The other one's easy because it's Phobos. It's like, oh, you're scared, right? You're scary. But Deimos, I never remember. So anyway, he's watching this, and he gets like a bug up his ass, a hair up his ass, I guess is what we call it. He's like, God damn it, I'm gonna like make my father proud. I'm gonna like do something more fucked up that'll like fix this issue right now, instead of like letting my dad's plan, Ares, work itself out. And so I thought this was funny actually. He pulls a Rita Repulsa here, and
that's exactly
he goes to like some room where there's like a big ball of nightmares that's like writhing and stuff, and he pulls a big chunk out of it. It kind of looks like clay, and he blows on it and fashions it into a statue. And I thought at that moment he was going to be like, now fly or whatever, grow,
make my creature grow.
Yeah. I totally thought that. And then he's like, yeah, this is going to be pretty awesome. Not like my brother Phobos who planned shit. And then we cut to Phobos, who is planning shit, which I thought was funny. And this is great. This was one of my favorite panels or like scenes. Is Phobos is talking to people. It just says elsewhere, and he's like, "Welcome, my children, to the house of Deimos. Soon, all that you have worked and waited for, all that I have promised you, will be yours at last. The hour is upon us for us to strike." Right, and so he's talking to people. We see who he's talking to, and it's like one of the guys that thinks Steve Trevor is a murderer. The nurse, that's his nurse at the hospital. So you're like, oh, he's corrupting all these people, or they're corrupting all these people that like we know. Then later on, which I thought was fantastic, we see the same scene played out. Exactly the same words and everything, but it says elsewhere, somewhere else, or whatever. Somewhere else, elsewhere. And it's in Russia. And he's saying the same thing to the Russian counterpart. So he's just stoking fear and manipulating the different groups of people that will end up fighting for Ares against each other in order to kill themselves in Ares' honor.
He's at least going,
that's his plan. Yeah, that's his plan. That's part of his dad's plan. But it's like, I just thought it was funny that Deimos is like, this guy takes too long. I'm going to make a monster, and that'll deal with it or whatever. So thought that was pretty great. But anyway, we cut to the hospital, and this was also one of my favorite panels of all time. Of all time, not even from this comic. This is just fantastic. Steve Trevor wakes up, and he's like, what's going on? And we see the nurse that was at that conference with Phobos, and I think it's the same general or colonel, I think, who's in the room with him. And the colonel's like, so what do you know about deaths, huh? Murder? You murder the general, huh? What'd you do with that plane, huh? And he's just like berating him with questions as he wakes up from like being knocked out for
doesn't know where
days
he was,
or whatever. Yeah. And I mean, Steve Trevor, he's quick on the upset because he looks over as the nurse is going to give him a shot of something, and it's going to knock him out, they say. And he looks at the bottle, and the bottle she's withdrawing from is just empty. So she's withdrawing air into the needle, and then she's about to give him an injection of air, which will give him an embolism and kill him, give him a stroke, basically, or whatever. And before she can do that, he's just like, bad. He like belts the nurse in the face, which I thought was fantastic. That was one of my favorite panels of all time, because she goes like, that's enough for now, Colonel. Let me give you your medicine and you will sleep. And then the next panel is just him punching her in the face. And Steve Trevor says, yeah, permanently, I'll bet. I saw what you put in that syringe. It's full of air, sister. And so, like, I don't know. I just love the way that he just fucking socks that woman.
Yeah, for just coming out of it, he was very much alert and like...
He was very spry. He was on top. If when you get out of anesthesia or whatever from surgery, you're not very, in it. So I don't know if they gave him any pain meds or anything before, but he is awake. He was aware of what was going on. So he breaks out of the hospital. And on his way out, he knocks out a guard, and that colonel that is evil actually takes a gun and shoots that guard, and then blames it on and murders him and blames it on Steve Trevor. He's like, hey, he killed that guard on his way out. So then we see the statue that Demos built has been FedExed, I guess,
He made it, and then he was like, I'm going to go drop this off real quick.
Yeah.
Went to a FedEx store and was like, will you deliver this overnight real quick to this address?
I need this today. I need next day delivery or whatever. So, he gets it delivered to the house of the professor that is working with Diana. And the professor's not home because they're riding to the hospital to go talk to Steve Trevor and try to figure out why he was on his plane, why the bomb was dropped, what's going on. Because she still doesn't know anything about Steve Trevor. And so we see that her daughter, named Vanessa,
who also likes to open her mom's mail.
Yeah, what the fuck? It's not addressed to you. It says your mom's name, not you. But she says, like, I have the same last name as my mom. Who's to say it's not for me? So she opens it, and it is the statue that Demos made. And so, we don't know what it is, but we know it's evil, right? So she just kind of like plays with it and then ends up falling asleep while it's at the house or whatever. So then we cut to a woman we haven't seen yet, or we saw her like briefly a little bit, but her name is Etta, or Lieutenant Etta Candy, because she's in the military, but she's kind of like just a desk.
She's more admin.
Yeah, she's admin in the military because I think she works with Steve Trevor because he was on desk duty as well. And so we're at her apartment, and she's like, I don't know what's going on. She's got a phone call with one of the lieutenants, and they're like, do you know where Steve Trevor is? Has he tried to contact you? And she's like, I don't know where he is. And even if he did, I don't believe that he murdered anybody. Yeah. I know Steve.
And you're his best friend. Like,
yeah. And the guy she's talking to is named Matthew Williams, who is Steve Trevor's best friend in the military. He's also a colonel. I think they're both colonels, Steve Trevor and him. Right. So, but out of the, behind her, out of the curtains, we see a man come out, grab her, and it is Steve Trevor. He broke into her apartment after breaking out of the hospital. So, of course, he tells her, like, I'm innocent, you believe me, and she believes him. So then we cut back to the house for the professor, and Wonder Woman and her are getting back because Steve Trevor was gone. He ran away, and now they got to find him. So as they get there, the girl, Vanessa, is like very weird towards Wonder Woman. And I thought this was interesting. I don't know if this would be in a comic nowadays, but basically she's just intimidated because the professor, Julia, says, hey, Wonder Woman, or Diana's going to stay here. This is my friend. She's going to stay here for a little while. Be nice to her or whatever. And Vanessa gets all weirded out. And it's because Vanessa was going to have a boy over and they were going to study, in quotation marks. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, I can't let Danny over if, that girl is there.
Yeah, look how pretty she is.
She's fucking stacked. He's going to be like, what? Awooga, whatever.
Vanessa, who's your mom's friend?
Yeah, I like her. So yeah, she's worried about that, and so she calls her guy friend and says, "Oh, I can't. Let's not do it tonight. Let's do it a different day." And then she proceeds to fall asleep while Diana and the mom study what's going on with that talisman and whatnot, and also teaching her English, which she does pretty fast. Through half of this book, she kind of speaks broken English, and then by the end of it, she's just there's one sentence where she's like, I learned fast, boys. And then she knows perfect English, even better than someone who was born here or whatever. so I thought some of these are comic book tropes. It's we get it. Yeah. She didn't know it. Now she does. Move on.
I before E, except after C, boys.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. There, and there, all right? So then we see Vanessa is asleep, and she is watching TV, or was watching TV, and next to her is that statue that Demos made.
And this is another one. It's a different eye. It's a demon eye, but I love he does the zoom in and it zooms in, and then this demon eye opens up, and the eye is really cool looking. It's
because the Wonder Woman one had eyelashes and just the perfect amount of wetness on it or whatever. I don't know. It looked so good. It looked like a human eyeball.
Oh yeah.
So. The demon eye, it's more stylized because it's a demon. So, but yeah, he likes to do that eye work, Yeah. But then Diana and the professor hear a scream out of the room next door, and they're like, "Oh my God, Vanessa!" And they go in, and there's a big demon monster in there, and Vanessa is okay at the moment, except something seems a little bit weird about her. She looks older for some reason, and the demon says, "Oh, Professor. You can call me Decay." So their name is Decay, and she's going to murder them, is what she tells them. And then she proceeds to breathe on them, which I thought was funny. I'm like, your power is bad breath. All right, cool. She breathes towards them and like out of her mouth shoots all this like Perez crackle. And basically what it does is it ages things super fast. So that's why her name's Decay. It decays everything it touches. So that's why the daughter is getting older. That's why the building around them begins to collapse.
That's really cool. So it like makes all the building materials like old and brittle. So that's I mean that's
stone
kind of,
and everything.
That's unique.
It's just what would happen over the years. Breaks down. And then the next issue starts with Wonder Woman or Diana getting Julie and her daughter Vanessa out of the house, and like it collapses on Decay. And I thought it was funny. Like the neighborhood kids are like, "What's going on over there?" Like. Like the old Julie house is collapsing. That's weird. I just thought that was funny. There's like a panel where the people are watching it, like, and they're like, "I've heard of termites, but that's ridiculous." Like, but yeah. So out of the ashes or broken remnants of the house, Decay pops up, and I was like, I'm not sure why she cares about this, but apparently she gets Wonder Woman's tiara. And I don't know why it's special necessarily.
She said it's some kind of symbol of power, and it's something she wants. So
yeah, they say it's like going to give her power, like Wonder Woman's power, but it doesn't. I don't know exactly why she needs it or wants it, because Wonder Woman flies after her, no problem, and but Decay starts blowing bad breath over the whole city and everything. So we're watching that happen, and at the same time, we cut to later that night where Lieutenant Etta Candy, is now working. I guess double agent for Steve Trevor. She's getting information on top secret files to try to explain like what is going on. Like why do they frame him
with her super tiny spy camera? I love it.
Yeah, one of those little like it fits in your palm of your hand cameras or whatever. It's pretty awesome. It's a James Bond camera. I love it. But yeah, we're getting news reports of Decay flying over in the background and collapsing the city, and trees are like rotting and everything's going terrible, and it's all bad. It's all bad news bears. And I thought this was cool. This is where you finally, like, the world gets introduced to Wonder Woman, because while Decay is doing this, things are falling down, about to kill people, and Wonder Woman starts saving them. So like humans are now like, wait, who's this hot lady saving people from this monster or whatever? So we find out also that Decay is like the daughter of Medusa, so there's some kind of makes sense. Like, my mother turned shit into stone and I rot the stone kind of thing is what she kind of says. But yeah, so they have like a big epic fight. Wonder Woman isn't really affected by Decay's powers unless she's unsure or scared. And so that's what makes her vulnerable for a second as she's getting kind of like in the middle of this fight with Decay. Diana's like has like doubt for a second, and then that makes her feel old. Like she's like, "Oh, I'm feeling old now." Like all of a sudden it's hurting me. And then she has to like will herself to not feel like that. And then she can overcome Decay, and she does. She uses the lasso on her, and the lasso basically grabs her and Decay signifies death, right? Because she's the embodiment of death, like rot, right? So the lasso itself, and this is what we were talking about, the lasso seems to have some powers of its own besides just truth.
Yeah, I guess the lasso, like, it's some kind of procure of life.
Yeah, like it has a life force that it can, like, it actually heals people sometimes too. So like it's able to give health or life or vitality or something. So maybe that's why, because it's like vitality or something. But so when it's around Decay, it kills Decay because it's injecting her with so much life.
Yeah, it pumps her full of life, I guess, and then she explodes, which is fun. I mean, that's a fun little.
Yeah. I thought the fight was good. It might sound like we're describing it stupidly or something, but it worked on the page. It's just hard to describe exactly what the lasso did, because this is only the third issue and they haven't really gone into like what the powers of the lasso are. So, but yeah, so everybody sees Wonder Woman and they're like, "Oh my God, she killed that thing." Like the press is there right away. Like, "What's your name? What are you here for? What are you
got
doing?"
a boyfriend?
Yeah, you got a boy. Yeah, we got a boyfriend. What size are you? What's your measurements?
It's ridiculous.
25, 30. So yeah, they go after her, and she's freaked out because she doesn't even speak English at this moment. Very broken English if she does. And so she runs to Julia, And then Deimos is confronted by Phobos in the God world or whatever, wherever the sons of Ares are at. And he's like, Phobos is like, what the fuck, man? Like, you messed up the plan. Like, I'm basically banishing you. So he like kicks him off the ledge, and Deimos falls. And then
This is where she gets the name, because she went off in such a hurry, and all the reporters were like, we don't know her name. We don't know what to call her. She was so wonderful.
And she's a woman.
We'll call her Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, right? I like this scene, though, because it's like a bunch of news reporters, like, in this city, which is Boston, which is unique for a DC comic, because DC has a bunch of fake cities that are kind of like analogs to real cities. Mm-hmm. So you got Metropolis, which is supposed to be like Chicago or something. And then you have Gotham, which is supposed to be like New York. And then you have Central City or Coast City, which is supposed to be like Seattle, I think, or something like that. And so, yeah, there's like, this is just Boston. But they're like, hey, when Metropolis had that guy, Superman, there was like the Globe or the Daily Planet, they were able to get like full coverage of him, right? Like he pretty much only is in their newspaper and talks to them. So what if like this is our chance? See, like the Boston Globe this is our chance.
This is gonna put us on the map.
Yeah, we're gonna be the first ones to get this down, like, and nail it. So,
and whoever the Sir Wonder report I did, like, she's like, Superman has an S on his chest, and she's got these kind of like golden W's. So
yeah. So what about Wonder Woman? You know, I'm like, oh, there you go.
Print it. Get those presses going right now.
Yeah. Hot off the press. So, yeah, that's what we see is everybody now is calling her Wonder Woman, and that's kind of like the main thing. And then in the meantime, Steve Trevor is just still in hiding because everybody still thinks he's a murderer. And so he's in hiding now with Julia and Diana. And Julia her daughter's dying still. Like, she was not cured by decay, dying. And Diana doesn't really know how to fix her. So Diana's like, I will help you. Like, I promise you, your daughter will not die. You just have to help me figure out what this talisman is and like how it works, basically. So they do, I don't know, like a montage, basically, of like studying books, reading books, going through books, and
like it seems like a season goes by almost.
Almost like you see snow. So it's like, okay, how long? Because the daughter is like, I guess in poor health. Like, she's not dead or like on death's door, but she's old now, so like her body is beginning to shut down. So there's definitely a sense of urgency that they want to figure out what's going on with the daughter. Oh, and you know what? I was actually wrong. Steve Trevor is not here. He's still on the run, but they don't know where he is. And so I say that because in this page, someone is lurking outside their windows of the residence of Julia, and it's her. That's what it's her winter home. She's got two homes. She's a professor at Harvard, so she's got two houses. And so Steve Trevor has tracked them down, and he goes there. And I don't know why he has a gun out, but he has a gun out. And Wonder Woman's like, how do you have like the thunder stick or whatever, like the boomstick? Like, I've never seen one of these outside of when I got shot at by Philippus or whatever in my test. And he's like, what? And so, yeah, basically it's Steve Trevor, and she's like, it's you. And so now they finally get to like meet while he's awake. And then as she's about to ask him questions, there's another like bang going on, basically. And we hear like some sounds, and it turns out Lieutenant Candy, who is back from her mission of espionage and getting the file or the photos of the top secret files to find out what's been going on in the military. We see someone is standing over her with a gun, like he's knocked her out, and he says, "My name's Matthew Michaels," and so we find out that is actually Trevor's friend from the military, like his best friend, which we kind of already said before. But, this is the first time we see him like straight up. So the next issue starts, and we're getting more into the story now, like what's been going on. We find out that Lieutenant Candy has found out that the government is running something called Project Ares. What is that? What could that be? And obviously Ares is behind a bunch of different military commanders kind of fucking shit up in the world, trying to cause World War III. And we find out that Candy had just got bumped by Matthews. Just
a little bump.
Yeah, just a little bump. But it made it look at the end of the issue like he fucking hit her over the head with his gun or something.
Yeah.
Like he's a bad guy. But yeah, so we get the Project Ares thing. And basically what's going on is Ares' plan is to get the Soviet Union and America to like have a missile launch on each other and start World War III and be the end of humanity or whatever, and the war and everything. So that's what they figure out is there's two separate bases. They do all this stuff with like a map and everything. It's,
Yeah, and apparently the map that they see there was on like some of the stuff that Candy got, and that they were at the military bases is the same map that's also on the Talisman.
Yeah,
So
once again, the Talisman is the
it's the MacGuffin.
It's the MacGuffin. So it was on the Talisman the whole time.
The
whole time. So yeah, basically they like line it up with a map, and they're like, oh my god, here's a missile base in Russia, and here's a missile base in Kansas, and those are the two that we need to go to fight, and that's where they're going to try to overthrow everything. And in the background, we see there are soldiers, American soldiers and Soviet soldiers, but specifically there are a group of American soldiers who are killing other American soldiers at this base. They're having a coup, we'll say. There's a general leading it, and so Colonel Michaels, that's
Michaels.
Michaels. So Colonel Michaels and Steve Trevor get all their guns because, of course, Michaels brought all his fucking weapons, which I like this guy. He's like, I was a Boy Scout. Always be prepared. Or whatever. And so he's got like fucking Rambo, like, belts of ammo.
He pulls out just like, tons of ammo and guns.
He's got submachine guns, just has them. It's like, sweet. Okay, cool. So he brings all these guns, and they're basically planning on getting to, at first, I was like, where are they going to go? I thought they were going to actually go to the bases.
To the base first, yeah.
But they figure out, and this is what I was saying, like they need to, I guess, figure out how to get to Ares and attack him head on.
And this is where Wonder Woman's like, I figured it out. And she's like, you speak English? She's like, yeah, I learned real quick.
Yeah, real quick. Don't worry about it. And so, and this is another MacGuffin with the Talisman. She takes the Talisman and looks at it in the mirror and goes, wait a second. The mirror would complete the Talisman if I push it into itself in the mirror. Because it's the mirror verse.
It's the mirror, yeah.
And it's like, what? Like, okay, I guess so. I guess that does it. But when she does that, she pushes it into the mirror and it opens a doorway to Hades or whatever the fuck the Phobos is. And so Phobos is there, and we get a big fight with him because he was kind of obviously in the background behind the generals and everybody and the Soviets and the Americans trying to get this plan. He's kind of like the right-hand man of Ares. Ares is very hands-off. He just had the plan, and he said, Phobos, you go do that. Yeah. And then Phobos was doing it. So they get to where Phobos is. They begin to fight Phobos. And he's got like Medusa kind of hair with snakes and shit.
Yeah, it's kind of been hinted at because he's got like snakes on his helmet, and like he's kind of got like, it looks like he's got a beard full of snakes. They don't have heads, but they look like either snakes or green spaghetti. So.
Yeah. And so Phobos, he's got the power of fear. So he kind of sets everybody's, like, he figures out what each person's fear is and then like sets it on him. So like one guy's scared of cats, so he has to fight a big cat. And that was Michaels that's scared of the cat. And then Trevor is scared of spiders. Julia's scared of drowning. And Lieutenant Candy is scared of being buried alive. So they have to, I mean, some of those you can fight, right? Like the cat and the spider. And the other ones are just like, hopefully someone fucking saves me because rocks are falling on me. And the other one is like, I'm drowning in a bunch of water. So while they're fighting, I thought it was fun. Like basically they figure out, hey, if we take on each other's fear, we're not scared of that, right? So Michaels takes on the spider because he's not scared of spiders, and Trevor takes on the cat because he's not scared of cats. And then Diana is able to save Julia from the water, and Michaels is able to save Lieutenant Candy from the rock slide that lands on her. And but then quickly, Diana is then in battle again with Phobos, and his beard hair snakes or whatever like wrap around her. And this is one of the cool things I liked about this is I didn't know that this was a thing, but her. And maybe this is why Decay wanted it earlier, but the little tiara that she has, apparently it's fucking razor sharp. And so Diana, even though she's like wrapped up in his beard snake hairs or whatever, she's able to throw it at him like a boomerang, and it chops off his head and also cuts all the snakes like to let her free or whatever. So she fucking murders him. Yeah. That was fucking cool. And he also had the second half of the talisman, the actual second half of the talisman, instead of like the mirror version. So they get that and they put it together. And when they do, they automatically get transported to the American base where the
nuclear weapons are.
Yeah, that's right. And of course they're surrounded by all the acolytes or whatever of Ares now. That's what I was saying. Like the talisman is definitely the MacGuffin in this. This is like, hey, we'll just put this together. And even though we didn't know it was going to do that, it puts us right in the middle of where we needed to be. So that's good. But yeah, so the missiles are about to fire, and we get like a big showdown finally with Ares.
Yeah, I like that Ares kind of. It looked like he took over someone's body and then appeared in his full get up. And really, Ares' armor.
Actually, he basically took place of the missile for a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like the missiles in the TV or whatever at the launch site. Maybe it was through like an actual glass screen, and they're looking at it and like, oh my god, the missile! And then all of a sudden, the missile turns into Ares, and he's like, ha ha ha, this is me, like embodiment of war and all this stuff. So it's pretty awesome. And then we see that the next issue starts, and World War III is about to start. They get reports that in the Soviet Union, the same thing is happening, and there is another faction that has like had a coup and taken over a missile site, and so both of them are about to turn the key and get to the room, I guess, where you launch the missiles and everything. So there's a big struggle, a big fight that takes a while to get through. Actually, I was like, wait, I thought they were already turning the key, but apparently they had to like go to a different room where it's like the real.
That was the key to get into the one room to turn the next key.
To get into the room with the key that you need to turn with the missile. Okay.
Makes sense. You gotta have redundancies, man.
Yeah. And so Wonder Woman, as the general runs into the room that's the final room that he needs to turn the key in, there's a door that starts shutting, and it's like one of those like big bank doors or whatever that like automatically closes and you can't get it out. So she starts to lift it, and it's taking so much strain that all of a sudden she disappears. Like she just like and like leaves the whole realm of where they're at and goes somewhere else. And that leaves all the humans to be like, fuck, we have to fight all these demon Ares people like by ourselves. So, and this is where our buddy Matthew Michaels, he fights valiantly, but he dies.
Yeah, he gets it.
And I knew that was going to happen because why the fuck do you have all these humans here that you just introduced? We know Stephen Trevor is not going to die. I don't know. Candy could have, and also Michaels could have, and Michaels got it. So, but he fought valiantly. So then we see like the general has the key like in the ignition or whatever. Like he's about to like turn it. He's already enabled the codes. All he has to do is turn it, and like then we cut away. We cut away to where Diana is in like a black darkness, and Ares is there, and it's like his realm of power.
His domain.
Yeah, it's his domain. And so he waxes poetic about what he's doing. We get like the whole "I'm an evil villain" speech, and this is my plan, and this is why it's so smart of me to do this plan. And they have like a pretty epic fight. I liked like Wonder Woman is outclassed here because one, she's still poisoned from the snakes that Phobos bit her with, and then two, it's like his domain of power. So she's not really able to beat him.
No, I really like this too. Like you said, like she keeps trying her best to go up against them, but she keeps being like, "Well, what are you gonna do against me? Like, yeah, I'm more powerful than you, and you're in my realm." Like,
I don't know, but she could do this all day.
Yeah,
that's what it seems like at least. And so yeah, but he's like beating her pretty handedly, and at the same time, we're seeing like he's burning her and stuff because he can like light people on fire and shit or whatever. And so we also see that the like women that were I guess we didn't say in the background of this whole thing, like Olympus is also dying, right? Like all the gods are like, if she fails, man fails, and they all die, so we're all gonna die. So they're slowly like their life force is leaving them. So like everything's kind of riding on Wonder Woman, and they're in the background going like, maybe we entrusted this power to the wrong person. Maybe she's not gonna make it, and was Artemis is like, no,
yeah.
Like we did good. She can do it. If we're alive, that means she's still alive. She can still do it. So Wonder Woman reaches deep. She digs down, and she realizes, look, I'm gonna fight no matter what. I'm gonna like die fighting. There's no reason to give up. So she takes her lasso, she wraps it around Ares, and it does another power that we didn't know the lasso does, which it shows you the truth.
Shows you.
It doesn't just compel you to tell the truth. It shows you the truth. So it shows Ares what the truth of what he's doing will lead to. And what it ends up leading to is him being on a throne with an earth that is not there anymore. Like it's just a ball of dust now. Of rock and radiation. No humans alive to worship him. And because of that, he also rots away because gods need people to worship them in order to stay alive. And he actually cries when he sees this. He's like, oh my God, I've been like so fucked up. I need these people to be alive so that they can create war. And that's like worshiping in my name or whatever. So he realizes that, wait, he's fucked up. He was going to take it too far because you need people alive in order to stay alive as a god. So he realizes that, and then he's like, all right, like, I realize you are correct. I'm going to stop them from turning those keys. But I'm also going to, like, you know, still be the god of war. I want war to happen with men. We'll let them be a little bit more.
Yeah, well, they'll give some balance to it, I guess.
Yeah. Like, be of their own device. They can still like war, and they still, you know, go kill each other. But, you know, more measured, not World War III.
Yeah, maybe I won't interfere as much.
Yeah, like he's not going to have a plan to blow up the entire world or whatever. So he does that, and all the demons in the, or all the like corpses that are possessed by demons in the different missile silos burn up and go away. And Steve Trevor's like, what the fuck? Like, because, you know, keep in mind, in their mind, Diana vanished. They don't know what's going on with her. And they've been fighting all these demons trying to get, you know, the keys, you know, from turning and all this stuff. Steve Trevor specifically has been fighting that general who like did not like him, and his hand's been on this key the whole time while he's been trying to fight him and stop him from turning it. And it's like, oh, I'm just gonna die now. I guess we're all gonna die. And then like he burns up in front of him. It's like, what the fuck? So I thought that was funny, but yeah. So that's pretty much the end of it. We get like Wonder Woman she gets transported back to the base that she was at. And Steve Trevor finds her. And so he gets her and he's like, help, we need help with her. And yeah, she's pretty beat up from the fight with Ares. And also like, I thought this was funny just because generally in comic book art, if you have like certain types of lines on your skin, that means hairy. Like Wolverine has hairy arms and legs. They gave her like stippling on her legs to show like where she got bit by all the snakes and everything. But it kind of looks like she did not shave for a very long time.
Like hairy arms and legs.
I thought that was funny. I'm like, she's going all natural in the end of this.
She fought so hard that it made her hair grow.
Yeah, her hair on her legs grew, which I thought was funny. And then we get like the joyous rebirth of Olympus in the last issue here.
And the gods drink their wine again.
I thought this was great. The gods who didn't do goddamn thing.
Nothing.
Like 1,000+ years ago, actually 3,000 years ago, they were like, yeah, we don't care what you do if you want to make Amazons. Because of that, they survived, and Ares did not kill everybody in the world. Yet they're like, it was great that we did this thing, and we're alive now. Let's celebrate. We're awesome. Like,
Zeus, more wine.
Yeah, more wine. And we get one awesome thing. This is like one of my favorite lines in this whole thing. So Zeus, he's like, so these Amazons, huh? They're pretty intriguing. I like them. Perhaps henceforth I shall keep a closer eye on them. And then in the background, you see Hera think to herself, but pray, dear husband, 'tis only thine eye. Because, you know, Zeus has been known to go down to earth and sow his loins.
Who did he appear to like as a swan and then was like, what's up?
Lots of people.
Okay, yeah. And that's only...
I think that's Hercules' mom.
Is it Hercules'
yeah.
mom? That's the main one I remember. It's like, hey, baby, I'm a swan. They're like, talking swan. And he turns into Zeus. And it's like, oh.
I'll fuck that swan.
All right, then.
Yeah, anyway, they bring Diana there and like put her in like the spa of awesome. They basically have a spa day with her where she gets to rejuvenate.
Yeah, well, and I think they do this in like Poseidon like does something in the water for her, right?
Yes.
Because I like the way he draws Poseidon like very bubbly-esque. Like he's got like a lot of bubbles in his like, you know, water bubbles in his persona. Yeah. His caricature.
It works. And then we see some other gods, or like not gods, I think they're like demigods, but there's the Pan. There's like the what are they called?
Fawn.
The Danny DeVito character in
Do you want to be a hero?
Yeah. And so he this guy's hanging around, and he's also talking kind of like lewd about the Amazons. He's like, "Hey, they're pretty hot, huh? Pretty hot, huh, Zeus?" And Zeus is like, "Yeah." Like, so
I know, right?
he's starting to put ideas in Zeus's head, and even Hera says like, "We got to make sure they don't keep talking about this or whatever." So she's worried that he's going to go cheat on her or whatever. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like we see the rebirth of Wonder Woman. She comes out alive. And then like the last thing they needed to tie up, once Wonder Woman goes back to the human world, like her mom is not happy, but she ends up letting her go because the gods tell Hippolyte that, you know, we want her on Earth and man's worth or whatever. And so she's like, okay, I mean, I'll let you go, but on some conditions. We don't know what those conditions are, because they just cut to her being on Earth again. And we see like the last thing that she had to do there was bring Vanessa back from the brink of death.
But they give her a way to get to Earth too. That's they.
Because she can't. She's not a god.
Yeah, so it's still silly, but they're like, hey, here's some winged shoes that the gods. I think Hera gives it to him. Was like,
well, it's Hermes' shoes.
Hermes. Okay, yeah,
it's like he's Mercury. Or
that's right. It's like, okay, here you go. Now you can fly through the cloud.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, cool, sweet.
Cool. So she flies back to the hospital where she does end up bringing like salves and stuff, like roots or whatever that she gives to Vanessa, who's the professor's daughter, and brings her back from the brink of death. And she looks young again and everything. And so she takes Vanessa back to Julie's apartment or Julie's house, I guess, and is like, hey, check it out, Julia, your daughter's alive. And at the same time, there's also like this little side story plot where some advertising agent, or like I guess it's like a manager maybe or something.
I think so. Yeah, it's like it seems like
press
a
agent. A press agent. Yeah, that's what it is. She like starts harassing Julia, like, hey, you got Wonder Woman's number, right? Can I get it? I just want to promote her or whatever. And so it ends up going out everywhere that, Wonder Woman is like the new hotness. It's on blimps. It's being written in the sky and smoke. Every magazine, People, Miss, Life, Time, everybody's got Wonder Woman on it.
Wonder Woman fever.
She's I got a fever. Wonder Woman fever. So that's pretty much what's the end of it, pretty much. And then we get like the little hint, the little tease of what's going to happen next.
It's like the end credit scene.
Yeah, we get the reveal of Cheetah reading Time magazine or whatever, and she's like, who the fuck is this bitch? Like, I don't like her, and she's got a lot of stuff I want to steal, so I'm going to steal her shit.
Hey, my servant man, go get me that thing that gives me some powers.
Yeah, it turns me into Cheetah, and then, so
bum, bum, bum.
we get that reveal. So, John, that was Wonder Woman from the 80s, the George Perez version. What would you give it? What did you think?
I liked it a lot. I didn't, I was a little apprehensive going into Wonder Woman because I was like, I've never read a Wonder Woman story, and I'm worried that I wasn't going to, like, love it. I was going to...
Right, because you hate women, so I know.
Wow, thanks. No, I was worried that I just, because of, again, like you said, I never heard of, like, oh, this is a great Wonder Woman
story. Right, you're like, how
Check
can a woman overpower a man? How could...
Oh my God!
What is she doing out of the kitchen? I don't think I can believe these stories. That's what you told me.
Yes. Wow. So anyway, no. I was really impressed. I was hooked from the very first one. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit before. The first issue was kind of like a double issue. It was like 40 pages long, right?
Yeah, it was like a double size.
And it was really good. Like it was a really well put together intro, which a lot of times, it doesn't matter if it's in comic form, movie form. So many of them are like, it's either too much information or like it's a little convoluted or something. Yeah. And so it's like, and all of the, let me tell you about our society of, police force. And
well, I mean, specifically with gods, right? You're talking about like mythology that actually exists or
That's
whatever.
true. Yeah. And you
could get into that. And
it only touched on it enough. So like you got the lore in there with it, but then it didn't dive super hardcore into that. And I liked all of the, I mean, this was pretty much most of the Wonder Woman I knew, so that was kind of, it didn't have too much change for me. It was good to know, like, this is where they moved her to from, like, the early stuff, like we said, the invisible plane, and, not quite the super powered, or the kung fu, the super powers that she had at the time, though.
Oh, yeah, we did say that, so in the 70s, they took away her powers, and they gave her the name Diana Prince, that she was like a kung fu master or whatever during that time. So in this, they made fun of that when the press people, before they were naming her Wonder Woman, they were talking about what her name should be. Oh, no, it was at the end with her promoter. The promoter was like, we got to give you a new name. Like, there's already a Princess Di, so like you gotta be something else. And she's like, how about Diana Prince? And she's like, no.
Nah, that's stupid.
That's stupid. And they're like, all right, just Wonder Woman. That's good. So I thought that was funny. They made a jab at the old series.
But yeah, it was good, and again, we can't speak enough about the art in this. Like, there's
let's give 2 grades on this, like we did with Neil Adams. What would you give the art, and what would you give the actual?
There's never a point where any of the art, background art, or the people in the page are not immaculate, and you can see everything on them. And like you said, even like when they're hurt, like it looks like it looks a little bit because of what we're used to. It was like, oh, that kind of looks like hair marks, but we know because we saw it right after the snakes and stuff.
Yeah,
that what it was from. But it was still just like there was so much detail in this comic. It just stands leaps and bounds above a lot of comics. Art overall, this would be like a 9. This is fantastic. Yeah. Absolutely some of the best art out there. I'm so as sad as it is that he's gone. We have this work that will stand the test of time. I
think it goes like 60 issues. Like he did the entire run.
So that's really nice to know, and that we'll be able to draw on the inspired from that, and have this for however long we as humans exist. As long as DC decides to continue to print things, and like I know we got a new Wonder Woman movie coming next year, but let's not print.
Why would that be
Wonder
in print?
Woman,
Let's not put it in print.
But yeah, and then I can't even really go far on the story because the story was super solid, and I never was bogged down. I never was bored. There were a couple parts where I had to maybe like go back and be like, what Greek god was that again, or like what names, like where exactly is this taking place? Like just because like I didn't see the name of it or something. Like when they go to like one of the like when they first use the talisman against the mirror, and it's like, where did they go?
Yeah.
Couple little things like that, but it wasn't like it didn't like ruin the story of them or take me out of it. Really. Right. I just had to was pause. Like, where are we? Oh, okay. So overall, like that was fantastic too. So I would give that an 8.5 out of it, honestly.
Okay, so 9 for the art, 8.5 for the story.
I have to say again, overall, as much as I was like cautious about going into Wonder Woman, because I'd never read a Wonder Woman story, not because I have any issues with women. I love and support women. I support women so much I completely stay away from them. Yeah, totally, John. All right. That's my 40-year-old virgin for the quote for the time. Anyway, but yeah, I loved it. This was definitely one of the best DCU ones I think
that we've read so far.
Yeah,
I would say that too. Like obviously you got Batman and stuff that we've read and whatnot, but like I gotta say, reading the first issue, I was like, this is one of the strongest first issues I've ever read. Like, just in general. Like, and I've read a lot of first issues, and this sets up everything perfectly. There was no, like you said, no filler. It got to the point. It was as long as everything needed to be. It was very like straightforward, concise. Told you everything you need to know in order to understand who the Amazons are and where they came from. And then I liked that the second issue was all about Steve Trevor, how he gets there. And then they kind of take off with the main story after that. So I enjoyed it, and I was like engrossed the whole time. Like there was never any time I was bored or anything. So I think we're gonna have the same ratings. The only thing I didn't like, and I get it because it's a comic book and it's the 80s or whatever. And in general, you just kind of some things you just gotta, like you said, the MacGuffin. You just gotta have something that can teleport them or whatever for no reason. So that talisman was a bit of a cheat, but overall, the story was fine. I enjoyed everything. I thought Ares was fucking awesome. I thought...
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry to jump in, but, like, this has been one of my favorite bad guys of, like, almost any of the comics we've read. I really enjoyed Ares. Ares felt extremely manipulative, powerful, and, like, overbearing almost because of how much he wasn't there, too. Like...
Yeah, like, you just felt him in the background of everything.
Yeah.
Anytime something happened, you're like, was that him? Is that guy evil, or is it, because you had the nurse and the other people who would be doing evil shit, and obviously they're being affected by Phobos and or Ares, same thing. So the plan is in action. So who's behind everything? So I'm gonna give the art for this for George Perez 9 out of 10, and the story I'm gonna give 8.5 out of 10. Very, very strong story. I very much want to read more of this arc, this whole run. And I probably will, just going forward, just because all of it's on Hoopla, and all of it's pretty easily available now, so it's all in print and everything. So I might have to buy the omnibus of this if I decide, that the whole run is amazing. So, that's fantastic. So what are we reading next week, John?
Next week, we're going to be checking out an Image comic called That Texas Blood.
Yeah, so I've kind of heard of this one. It's piqued my interest as I saw it on the shelves and whatnot. It is currently going on. I think it's got 2 volumes out in trade. But we're going to read the first volume. And I've talked to a couple people that have said, oh, yeah, it's good. But basically, it's like a murder mystery, obviously, that takes place in Texas. And since we're in Texas, it was intriguing to me that this takes place in Texas. Yeah. So
Texas comic. Or
sure.
about Texas, at least. Something going on in Texas.
Yeah, sure. Something.
Some blood in Texas. There will be blood in Texas.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's what we're going to do next week. If you guys have any comments, questions, suggestions, you can email us at planetrainsandcomicbooks, all one word, at gmail.com.
Don't forget about our Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube channel for exclusive content, as well as our TikTok is up now.
TikTok,
we're up there. We're with the cool kids now. We're hip, we're cool. And don't forget to check out our Patreon. We've got a special going on right now, Matt.
Yeah, we got a special going on for the Matt's Minis Hellblazer, right? So normally it is $5 to subscribe to that, but we're doing a special because we're just trying to get our Patreon going. And so if you listen to the Matt's Mini Swamp Thing and you ever wanted to know about Hellblazer, I'm doing the same thing. I started at issue 1. We're at issue 21 as of this week. And you get the whole back catalog of those issues or episodes. And I'm reading them just like Swamp Thing, one issue at a time. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. We're doing that we have a special going for $2, the introductory price, the super fan price we're calling it, just to reward the people that jump on at the beginning. So if you have any interest in that or you want it, you also get access to our polls and shout out. Speaking of, we have a couple Patreons already for that. I'd like to shout out my good friend, who I haven't talked to her about this yet, so I don't want to shout out her name without her permission, but you know who you are. Thank you very much for being a Patreon.
But we can't say Otaku Mike. Thank you for your support, and we appreciate you.
Yes, and so those are our 2 supporters. They will get access to voting on our polls, which we're going to throw up our first one this week coming up, and that is going to be like 4 books we're going to choose randomly and throw it out there, and you can choose what you want us to, or at least for one of the podcast for that month in June. So, and I think we're also going to have polls just randomly like, hey, do you want more Marvel characters, DC? What Marvel characters do you want, like Fantastic Four or other stuff? So
yeah, we're going to start doing a lot of polls and a lot to kind of gauge your all's interest in it. So even if you just want to sign up for like the low tier, just to get in on it, that's a good way that you can influence the things that you'll be listening to.
Yeah, and the $3 tier is our lowest tier, and that one is the blue and gold tier. We kind of transferred it over from the coffee page that we had, and that is not only a shout out, but you also get to vote on everything you want and just support us in general. And so if you would like to, please support us with that, because we love making these things, and we also would want to create more content. We're thinking about adding some other other tiers, that are like, you get to choose a comic I do a review on YouTube, things like that. But we haven't implemented that because we want to test the beginnings of these Patreon tiers. So.
But it's a good way to get in there and, kind of let us know and actually influence like the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Things that you're liking us doing and you want us to do more of.
Yeah. And also like you can message us. So if you're Patreon, you can just say, hey, I want you to read this. And we probably will, unless it's something terrible or something. So for the most part, we don't plan these out very far ahead. So if you give us a suggestion, we will do it, and most likely. So we'll at least research it and like plan on it later or something. So with that being said, we'll see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.